Wham Radio is an alternative media outlet and is not regulated by any authority other than its creators.
Wham Radio and any of its affiliates are not responsible for your ignorance and due diligence. Please support the freedom of speech. Good evening, everyone. This is Anarchist coming to you from the dark side of the moon, and I am here with
Marlboro Man from Top of the Line Productions. How are you doing this evening, Ann?
I'm doing really well this evening, Marlboro Man.
Fantastic.
Now, recently we just had a PC problem.
And we're not talking about the computer, folks.
Oh, no, far from that. Our PC problem is political correctness.
Good old political correctness.
So the story goes, well, the other week we had a friend.
First time determined listener.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it. First time determined listener of our radio station.
We made a friend, though, out of it. And, we were actually able to turn somebody who had a negative opinion into somebody that had a positive opinion.
So the complaint went as they did not like the word that we used during the show in one of the recent episodes we had. And the word was retards.
Yes, we used the word retarded. And of course, we don't have to apologize for that. We do have freedom of speech after all. But it was taken out of context. And someone got offended, apparently. And they were very determined to call us and text in the middle of the night, as a matter of fact, and wake us up. And
I was getting all those texts at 12 in the morning.
Got a little earful, huh?
Yeah. They were saying, like, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. You're making fun of retards and this and that. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. I remember saying the word retard.
Yeah, I remember it too.
But I don't remember cracking a joke about them.
No, it's quite the contrary, actually. We were actually talking about how they could be better helped because of their mental disabilities.
So, to the people who are out there complaining about this, we're sorry for not being sorry.
Exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself, Ann.
Okay, so with that aside, that actually leads into our topic of freedom of speech
versus censorship.
Of course. Now, Marlboro Man, you were telling me how you had a very strong opinion about how censorship is for children and freedom of speech is for adults. Now, can you please explain how you think about that scenario?
Oh, why, that's right, Ann. I believe that a censorship is something that's the responsibility of the parents, really, of a child. That's what we're talking about. That's the person that would be censored, and that would be up to the adult, whoever the parent or
Whoever's
guardian
responsible,
is.
right?
Exactly. So, and responsible is the word. And what I'm saying is, if you want to, censor your kids, that's fine. But of course, you have to go through that work yourself, because you're not just talking about censorship. You're also talking about how that person is going to grow up in the world and what information is going to be kept from them, or possibly what information is not going to be kept from them. So basically, the guardian would have to go through the work of themselves and actually deal with the entirety of the situation. That would be censorship. So censorship is upon you, the individual, and basically who you want to censor, which rightly should just be your kid. Now, freedom of speech, on the other hand, that's for adults. So that's for those of us who actually operate in the world. See, there's a difference there between the real world and the world you might create for, say, a small child.
And that and that's a really good concept that you're bringing up here, because if you think about it, the government is the adult who's censoring us like we are the children.
Why, that does happen a lot in modern day society, yes.
And I find it so ironic that a lot of the things that they censor are usually things that do not go along with the agenda of the country usually. Like they have no problem. You can hop on Google and have no problem finding any kind of fucking porn there is. You know what I mean?
That's very true. I've heard of this.
You know what
I wouldn't know personally, but I've heard of it.
But this is what I'm talking about. You can go on Google and find any porn, any kind of illiterate, ill-informed, like horrid, misconceived, like things on the internet, but people cannot find good quality information.
Ain't that a fact? Good quality information is far and few between, and I think the reason is because it's so valuable.
Oh, yes. Information in this day and age is like having gold.
It is, actually.
It is a type of gold and a type of currency.
Why, you could argue that information is really what backs up the economy, because we know nothing else does.
That's true. You would have to have information to obtain skills.
Yeah. To steal.
Yeah, right. But what I find so ironic about our access of information as adults is you can clearly see that we are being treated like children by the government, CIA, the FCC, all these, companies that are created for what they call the common good. It's supposed to help everybody. It's supposed to be good for us all. If this person, A, does not like what person B said, then if person A gets enough people to agree with them, they can come over and silence person B.
And that's not communism?
That is totally not communism. You know what they like to call that?
What's that?
Democracy.
Oh, wow. I'm shocked.
That's actually democracy. I love how they disguise communism and what is it, as a socialist democrat, or what was Obama? He was a democrat socialist something, like that's what he was.
I think you're talking about Bernie, right?
Is that Bernie, or I thought that was
Bernie.
Obama, but it
was... well, Obama had a socialist agenda, but he was a Democrat.
Yeah, they call it like a democratic socialist.
That's what it is. That's right. That's
Everybody
right. Now, he never admitted to it, but Bernie ran on that ticket.
Right.
Democratic socialist. Good. That's right.
Yeah, that's being a democratic socialist. That's what it really means. Like, a group of people, if there's enough of them, who don't like something that another person is doing, even if that person is not infringing on anybody's rights,
doing no harm
to anybody except for just talking, and I guess, somehow talking gets people hurt. They get offended and then they get cancer, and I hear they get AIDS, and I hear when you get the symptoms of offendedness, you die from it. So that's something we all have to, look out for, is if you get offended by somebody's speech, you can die from it.
Kind of like dying from stress.
Yeah.
Wow, it really affects people that much.
It affects people that much.
We did have to find that out. We did a lot of research on that, actually.
Yes, we did.
Extensive research. And we did find out that people are highly affected by forms of speech. Ridiculous, though. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but it's actually true.
That is one thing I did want to mention was they did do this one research, this Japanese guy, where he took water, wrote really positive things on the glass, froze the water, and the water froze in these beautiful crystal shapes. He took another glass of water, wrote very angry, hurtful things on the glass, froze the water, and the water froze into very disfigured and really dystopic shapes that were not natural anymore because of the positive and the negative energy that was put into each glass reflected on how it froze and in what way. Was it frozen by love or frozen by hate? So yes, things like that does have an effect on people, but we're not glasses of water. We have brains. And even though we might feel a certain way towards any piece of information, we still have to look at it with a critical eye and say, why was this piece of information brought to me? Because most people are ignorant.
That's right.
And pieces of information will fall up on their laps and they will just, dust it right off their laps as if, it was little dust particles. And it's like, goodbye, pieces of information. You have no use of, for you in my mind. I will take this speck of information that, insiders killed insiders did 9/11. That's got to go right out the window.
We'll just throw that out.
But, people would rather face the, what does they call a beautiful lie than the raw truth. And the raw truth is, freedom of speech is something that we should take very seriously as adults.
That's right, because we do have to express our opinions. And you have to be objective about these things.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to maintain your objectivity. And in order to do that, you have to take your emotions out of the equation. And that's something that you should already know ahead of time.
I mean, if you are a respectable, responsible, clear-thinking, logical adult, you can sit there and listen to the information we're telling you, and it shouldn't even matter how we're telling it to you, really. You got to listen to what's in it. What are you getting out of it? And we want you to get something out of this information, however the way we say it. If you don't like how we say it, well, go start your own way of saying it. See if you could do a better job than us.
Yes, you can always just take it with a grain of salt, or you could, go and drink beer and watch sports.
Yeah, go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep,
Change
America.
the channel.
Right.
That's all we can say is change the channel. If you're not happy with what you're listening from us, we're not here to make you feel good.
We're just here to give you the correct information.
That's all we're here for. We try to present it in a way that's as logical and as relative as possible.
Make a little bit more sense out of things.
Exactly. Present other ways of looking at the situation.
Different perspectives, different points of views. We always try to go with every different angle that we can find here at Top of the Line Productions and Wham Radio as well. On the dark side of the moon.
Now, another thing I would like to lead into, especially when it comes to the censorship versus freedom of speech, and being treated like children and children this and that, especially when it does come to children, is the fact that if you want to have more control over what your kids are watching, stop getting them a whole bunch of digital devices that'll give them access to infinite information. If there's certain things you don't want them to look at, don't give them the option yet of having all that information at their fingertips.
Yeah, if you are a Quaker, just live like a Quaker, and by the dress, the rest of us will know, and we'll leave you alone. We'll let you be a Quaker. We'll say hi, but we won't give you our phone.
That's wow. The point is that if you want to, again, censor children, you know, and most of us adults are not children. We're not.
I think a lot of us tend to forget that. And that there is an obsession in this society. We're youth obsessed. And we want to prevent ourselves from getting old, so everyone's always trying to stay young and act young all the time.
All the time.
And I think a lot of people end up getting caught up in that a little bit too far. They take it too far.
Yeah, because sometimes they're still doing it into their 30s and 40s.
Right, and they're still doing it wrong. That's the problem. Because they were obsessed with just staying that way for a long period of time. They never actually bothered to organize it.
They're like, it's the 90s forever.
It isn't. I understand.
We've made some horrible choices in the 90s.
I would say so, yeah. But none that I regret, because each horrible choice led to a great misadventure. Or adventure, either way.
Yes, our children are getting access to a lot of information all at a very young age. I mean, they have no business being on Google Chrome at 6 years old.
And let's not forget too that experience is the ultimate teacher anyway. So, in my opinion, letting kids out and letting them do their own thing is the best way. Whether it be at the schoolhouse or library or on the playground, at least they're doing their own thing, and they can make their own way. But they're getting the experience.
Well, yeah, they need the experience first, but they're trying to live all their experience through like a screen.
Yeah, these days, that's unfortunate.
And they're losing their ability to physically interact outside and play. Play is like a thing that's dying now. Kids play until they're about 6 years old, and then they learn how to use their parents' phone, and then bam, they're...
That's right. And these multimedia devices, televisions too, everything.
They're so cheap and affordable.
And they do brainwash people. And if your kid doesn't know how to brainwash himself because you didn't teach him, well, you're probably going to end up with a horse load of shit.
Another kid that, you'll see on Facebook taking those stupid selfies in the mirror. Doing duck faces if they're girls, and the stupid hat twist on the side for boys. And then everybody's got problems and issues.
Oh, of course, and they all have to be advertised on Facebook.
And it's got to be...
no one can talk to each other.
Nope.
Nope.
Because they got to, inbox each other and, talk about...
Oh, yeah, the inbox, the more secretive version of communicating on Facebook.
Right. But we're going to wrap up this topic. I would just like to add some final comments.
I think we hit all the points we needed to tonight.
Yeah, I do think so too. But, let's just, keep in mind that freedom of speech is something that we all value and that we all should protect collectively. This is one of those things that we cannot, as a species, let alone, human race, to let die out, because we should be allowed to express ourselves freely. We should be allowed to voice our opinion and, take in the information, process it, and put it back out in a way that not only we ourselves understand it, but give it the substance that and the uniqueness and individuality that it truly deserves.
That's right, Ann. Freedom of speech truly is a cause that is worth fighting for. And unfortunately, many have already laid down their lives for our freedom of speech. So we should do the same. We should not do any less than be willing to actually lay down our lives for our freedom of speech. And then I think if people looked at it that way, that would probably cure a little bit of that offendedness that people get from hearing words.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you looked at it a little bit more clearly.
As a sovereign citizen, a private person, It is your responsibility to protect your freedom of speech and the freedom of speech of others. This is Anarchist coming to you from the dark side of the moon.
And Marlboro Man, Top of the Line Productions, and Wham Radio after hours. You folks have a good evening, and remember, be safe and don't drink and drive. It's not attractive.
All right. Good evening, guys.